What's going on, everybody? It's Joe from the Acceptable Casualties, and we're here to take a look at Battlegroup Blitzkrieg. I just picked this book up about a week ago. I'm kind of just like fingering through the pages, kind of looking through it, and getting ready to do a review for you guys. I know some people have been asking about doing Blitzkrieg for early war. This book, it's not one of the more recent books that came out for Battlegroup. It's been out for a little while. But I figured I might as well grab this up before it ends up going out of print, and I go get the PDF for it. So I wanted to get this one, do a review for it, because I do have some interest in jumping over into early war on the Western Front once we kind of wrap up our Eastern Front project. Probably pick up some Poles and some stuff like that. So this book right here, it covers the Germans against the Poles in '39, and then it does the German invasion of France, and then against like the Netherlands and the Belgians and the British Expeditionary Force. The book covers all that, and it's broken up into two sections. So we're gonna open it up, and I kind of just show you guys what I got inside the cover. So as you can see, as the standard for all these books, really good artwork and photos from cover to cover on this one, all the way through. So yeah, here's some pictures right here taken of some of the games that they do. I believe this is all 20mm stuff, and you guys see the artwork. I don't think the books have anything in 15 or 28. I could be wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure it's all 20mm. So yeah, here's the table of contents right here. The book says 182 pages long, so you get a pretty decent amount of bang for your buck, as well as some of the extra stuff in the back as far as the chits and the reference sheet and things like that. So yeah, here's just the intro to the book for Battlegroup Blitzkrieg. It kind of just gives you a rundown of what to expect from the book, and then kind of like a brief overview of the period that it covers. And then in here, it goes right into the invasion of Poland. So you got a couple pages here of some of the descriptions of some of the battles that took place, as well as just like an overview of the overall campaign. And like I said, you get Siege of Warsaw, you get a little bit on the Russian invasion, which is what I'm kind of interested in. I picked this up for the Polish list because I do want to there was a couple skirmishes on the Eastern Front between the Soviets and the Poles. I don't think there was any huge engagements, but there were some really interesting smaller ones. So I figured I'd get this for the Polish stuff, so I'd be able to do a couple things on the Eastern Front, as well as use the Poles against the Germans in the future. So if you're looking to do that and you have a Soviet force, this is a decent book for that as well. But like I said, it mostly covers Germany against Poland. So you have some more stuff here, some cool photos, and it goes right into the special rules for Battlegroup Blitzkrieg at around page 12. And these are all going to cover I think it's mostly the Eastern Front stuff over here. And then there's some stuff for French. I mean, you got like some of the stuff for French, British as well. Then you got some stuff for the Poles, as well as German special rules, and then like other stuff for assault troops. There's some flavor stuff in here. I know like the French, you got command chaos, but only when they attack. And then they have stuff for bomb group where they can do grenade launchers and like from all their platoons. I think it's in the one individual group, so you can have like one bomb group for that. But a lot of the stuff in here is some of the stuff that you've seen in other books. But like there's some flavor stuff still mixed in here as well. So you get about 2 pages of that kind of cover here, stuff that you maybe not see in the regular rule book that's kind of maybe explained a little bit more right here. So it goes right in on page 15, you jump right into the Polish army, so it goes over what you have in here as far as the TKS tankettes, all their equipment like the Vickers, the FT-17s, the Renaults. I mean, you got, the mortars, field guns, gives a brief description on anything, and also gives you, like I said, they do this in all the books, where it all gives you a description of the vehicles, but also as well as sometimes how many actually were in the field. So when you make your lists, you can kind of play it more toward historic ratios if you guys are putting that stuff together, and that's what kind of interests you. So it gives you the numbers as well as the descriptions of what they are in here for the Poles. Then it gives you the army list, how it breaks down, whether you're playing a squad, platoon, company, battalion. It tells you kind of the points, your infantry stuff, how many units that you're restricted for, restricted units as well as unique. That's all here, like it is in most of the books, or actually all the books. Then down here, like I said, some more explanations of how the units break down as far as infantry, tanks, and things like that for those of you who haven't seen these before. So it gets into page 21, you go right into the Polish battle group right here. One thing I will say, like after going through here, going through the Polish battle group, these platoons are huge. Compared to what I'm used to playing, or especially if you're doing like late war battle group or just wargaming in general, like Polish battle group right here. I think when you go right into the infantry platoon, you're looking at, what is it? I mean, yeah, you're pushing over 60 guys for one infantry platoon. You're going to have 3 rifle groups of 10 men each. Then your LMGs are going to be 9 men each. So, if you're looking to build a Polish force, get ready to do a little bit of painting because you're going to have to put some bodies together on the table. I guess it's the equivalent of what is it on the Eastern Front? Was it the Romanians or Hungarians? They had like rather large platoons too. I can't remember who exactly it was, but it was one of those two that you had a lot of bodies to put on the table. So here's your basic infantry platoon here. Like I said, the body count for this is rather large. Cool thing with this too, though, you have the option to put these guys on bicycles. So if you can get Polish bicycle models, I think in 15 mil, you might be able to get them off Peter Pig. I'm not 100% sure on that, but it's worth looking into because I know they do have a pretty good array of different stuff on there. Dude, there maybe Old Glory might have them as well. But you have the option to do bicycles, trucks. There's actually an option to put them in half tracks for poles. I didn't know that until I actually went through the book. That's pretty cool too. And then you have a lot of the standard stuff, your HMGs, light mortars, anti-tank rifles, and anti-tank guns. So, you know, your standard infantry platoon here, it's just like I said, the body count is extremely high for the pole. So, you know, it's something to take note of. They also have the cavalry platoon over here, which is what I wanted to run. I thought this would be like a really, really cool thing to put together. You know, a pretty decent model count for this too if you haven't done it before. It's only 6 guys on horses plus the command. So you're looking at probably around 30 cavalry. And then obviously you would do a platoon of them dismounted as well if you decide to take them off the horses. But they have a bunch of cool stuff in there. Their section as well, because everything's going to be transported on horses. They also have the horse-drawn wagon with the machine gun mounted off the back. Was it Tazanka, I think is how you pronounce it. I know they have it for Soviets as well, so they have a Polish version in here, which is kind of cool. I think this would be a really fun, fluffy list to put together doing Polish cav. So that's what you have for that. For their armor, you got your basic tankettes, you got your TKSs, you got your Vickers, you got your F-17s. That's kind of what you have here for the tanks, not a ton of stuff. For the defenses, you got a bunch of the standard stuff in here, as well as some stuff that you don't normally see in a lot of the other lists. Like I know they have the artillery observer post. That's not like a common one that you're going to see too much. So that's kind of cool. And they also have the dragon's teeth that you can put out, so you can build like a pretty good defense line, get some artillery in there, and really build like a nice fluffy defense list as the Poles kind of take on the Germans as they come in across the border. So that's what they got there. For artillery, a lot of your standard stuff. You got your off-table mortars, off-table arty. You got your on-table options, mostly 75 millimeters. They got one option for 100 millimeter over there. They got a time barrage in here as well. So a lot of the standard stuff that you're used to seeing. For logistics, you got your supply. That's going to come horse-drawn wagon. I think you can upgrade it to a truck as well for a couple extra points. You can do transport columns, so you bring trucks on if you want to transport your troops that way. Stretcher parties, ambulances, forward aid posts. A lot of the stuff that you normally see in logistics. For rec, you got a pretty good array of stuff here between armored cars. You got your cav, tankettes, foot patrols, your sniper. So a lot of that stuff's covered in here. A good variety in here. Like I said, the Polish list is fleshed out pretty well. There's a lot of options in here. You kind of put a lot of stuff together and make a pretty fluffy combination. Down here for your engineer supports, you got your bridging units. The one thing that I was kind of getting excited for, I saw they had the flamethrower teams here, so you can get 2 flamethrower teams with 3 men each. So I mean, yeah, you can just run around the field with these small teams with flamethrowers and cause a little bit of havoc. It's only 30 points and get 2 battle rating for it. So that could be pretty fun to play around with on the table as well. Going back over here for specialist units, you got your tank hunters. You got some more tanks that you can bring in, another tank platoon, towed anti-tank, anti-aircraft guns. So you can get a little more armor in your list if you want to go that route as well. And then, you know, your typical additional fire support over here that you get. And they do have options for some of the close air support planes and things like that. Pretty decent. I mean, obviously they're not loaded out to the same magnitude that you're going to get for the German planes. And I think, I can't remember if it's this section of the book or for the French section where they have the air superiority rule. So if you get an air support shit, I think the Allied ones, it only comes in on a 6-up, not a 5-up, as a way to show kind of like the Germans own the skies. I'm pretty sure that works for the Polish campaign as well as the French campaign. Don't hold me to that, but I'm almost positive it rolls on both. So that's what you get right there. You get that one Polish list, but like I said, you got a lot of variety in there to kind of piece and put together what you guys would normally want to play. And what is it, the Black Brigade and stuff like that. I think it's all pretty standard. It's just, you know, your different paint schemes that you would want to use for your polls. Then just kind of mix it up and do it that way. But you have the options in the book to kind of put together some pretty fluffy lists. So here's the German army for 39 and 40. This kind of holds the same as everything else. You know, you got your same rundown of all the equipment in the field and what they have. As far as Panzer IVs, 1s, 2s, and 3s, you got your Stugs, the first Stug, the A, you got your 38Ts and 35Ts. You got some armored cars in there. It's a good variety of early war stuff. I know, like I said, I'm playing a lot of early war on the Eastern Front right now. So I was looking at what I was going to need to bring over to do early war on the Western Front in Poland, and it seems like a lot of the stuff carries over. And if you're like the kind of person who's going to want to play specifically and just have the exact Panzer threes, the exact Panzer fours come over, you might have to buy some new stuff, but some of the models are kind of close enough to where you can kind of get away with playing them and rolling them over, and it's not going to be that noticeable of a deal. So you could do it with some of it, but you're also going to have to probably pick up a lot of Panzer 1s and 2s if you're coming over from the Eastern Front wanting to do early war, especially in Poland. They got a lot of smaller tanks, and the bigger ones, I guess, weren't as common. So just something to make note of. So yeah, here's like the basic rundown of the planes, some of the artillery, things like that. So here's the German battle group in Poland. Something to make note of here as well, I was looking at. When you have the regular infantry unit that you're going to be doing from the regular battle group, like I said, the forward HQ, everything kind of feels the same as it would. When you get over to the actual infantry platoon, there are some minor changes that you're going to have to take note of. You're probably going to have to paint maybe an extra 4 or 5 guys for each of the squads that you put together. So like the rifle teams for the Germans in this campaign are 9 men deep. Your MG teams are 4 men deep. And then you got your 2-man mortar teams. And then your infantry platoon officers are 4 men. So you might have to paint an extra like 3 or 4 guys to kind of fill what what's asked of you when you're putting together these rifle teams and these platoons. So if you're bringing over and you're used to playing like 6-man guys, that 6-man rifle teams and 3-man MG teams that are usually riding around in half tracks, just be aware if you're going to be doing Polish campaign, you're probably gonna have a couple extra guys sitting on the shelf painted up and ready to go to kind of fill out the numbers that you're going to need for this. But most of the support stuff and things like that, they all still kind of fall into the same realm of how many bodies you need with the guns and things like that. Just the actual infantry platoons, you're going to have to probably paint up a couple more if you're going to be building off an existing collection and don't have the spare bodies. Or if you're coming in fresh, then just be aware you're going to be painting up a little bit extra as far as infantry platoons go. So that was interesting. This is the tank units that support the Polish list for infantry. Like I said, it's Panzer 1s, Panzer 2s are probably going to be the backbone of what you got. And then you can bring in Panzer 3s as restricted. So it means you can usually only take, if you're doing like platoon games, I think you can only take like 2 or 3 of them, those platoons. So, they're going to be really limited on that. They have the Panzer 35s and 38s. Another thing to make note of here, if you guys aren't familiar with it for the early war, if you take the Panzer 38Ts or 35Ts, you can't mix them with Panzer 3s. You have to kind of, you have to stay true to whatever that division's going to be bringing in. So if you're doing Panzer 3s, it's just Panzer 3s. You can't bring these in per the rules, and vice versa. So, if you're going to build a list based off that, you have to be very specific as far as what you're going to pick to stay within the guidelines of the rules. Artillery, same thing as usual. You got your off-table mortars, off-table arty, your on-table stuff. You're looking at 105s and 150s. So, it's kind of the standard that goes across. I think with the 105 and the 150, it's probably bang for your buck for artillery units for Germans. It's probably the best thing you're going to be able to go with. They seem to carry out. They're pretty much a big chunk of the war as far as being a nice standard for your towed artillery. Just a good investment from a player's perspective, too, because, you get a decent piece that you can put on the table through all phases of the war. And that's, it's one less thing you have to buy, one less thing you have to worry about. It's a good cornerstone to have in your list as well. So down here you got your defenses, standard defenses that you find for infantry. A lot of trenches, barbed wire, dugouts, minefields, things like that. You get all of them with the German list. Over here with the Recce for Poland, you got a nice mix here of armored cars as well as some of the steers. They have some other stuff here, infantry foot patrols, cav. That's the one cool thing about early war too, is it seems like everybody has a decent option for cavalry, so you can kind of get either, whether it's Recce or actual platoon that you can put on the table. I always thought it was kind of cool that when you have that mix of cav on the table, and you also have like tanks and infantry, and just have it all out there. I just think it looks awesome. It's a cool little fluffy piece to have in there, and they served a pretty good purpose as well as scouting. And like I said, they're still used pretty well, especially by the Poles in early war. So it's pretty cool to have that option in here for everybody as well. Definitely gonna try to put those together. And they also have a bike patrol. I just noticed this right now. So yeah, you can get guys on bicycles and throw them on the table. If you guys know where that is, actually, if you guys know where you can find just 15 millimeters, like I said, that's what we play here, or even 20 mil, just throw it down in the comment section. Where is a good place to find soldiers mounted on bicycles for early war as a reference? Leave that down below, because I'll probably be throwing my money at that at some point, and you guys can kind of reap the benefits and see how it looks on the table later in time when I get around to that. So up here, going to page 42 right now, still in the Germans for the Polish section. We got engineer support units, so you got your bridging units over here, you got your pioneers, you got the FAMO for your recovery vehicle. I do want to get one of these. Those things are awesome. They also have, the typical logistics that you would find in all your lists, as far as taking, transport trucks. I think you take up to like 10 of them here for the Germans, which were more common in that period. Yes, but even when they start bringing the half tracks in, it's usually going to be more trucks than it's going to be half tracks anyway. For your supply column, you can bring the horse-drawn wagon. You can also upgrade it to a truck. So if you just have trucks for your supply stuff, the option still to do it here. You don't got to buy a horse-drawn wagon if you don't have it. For specialists, you got your 88s, you got your Panzer IVs, you got your Toda anti-aircraft. They also have the bunker flak, which I was kind of thinking about buying that as well too. There's so much stuff in this book. After you're like reading through it, you're like, I gotta have that, I gotta have that. It's gonna end up putting me in the poorhouse if I try to get everything on the list. But yeah, there's a bunch of cool stuff here for specialist support for the Germans. And then you got your additional fire support here for the Germans, where you got, all the arty that you can bring it off the table, as well as your Ju-87 airstrikes. A lot of cool stuff in here. So that's what you get about page 44. So you got your 2 core lists that you're going to get from the Poles and the Germans for this scenario, for this 1939 scenario and campaign. The Poland battles right here. So this goes right into the section for Poland. You get a couple like little custom missions. Most of them are falling into that platoon, as well as some squad level stuff. Like this first one right here is a platoon fight, and it's, you got 35 points of Germans going against 19 points of Poles. So you got that right off the bat. You got a cool one right here where it's, you got 6 battle rating against 7 battle rating. It's like a small tank battle on a small table. That's pretty cool. So you got a good variety here as far as stuff you want to look at. And then right here it goes right up into a company one where you got a much larger engagement. So you got 3 unique missions that are attached to the Polish side of the campaign that cover all different point values and kind of what you want to do with that. So that's pretty good right there. Then you jump right into the painting guides in between both of the campaigns. So here's 15 mil German infantry. These look like they're the PCS ones. PSC, the Play Soldier Company ones. So it shows you how to paint up your riflemen for early war Germans right here, as far as doing the, the packs in the back, just the standard field gray, the whole thing, 14 steps, really good stuff right here. Also tells you what paints to pick up. So that's for that one. Also batch painting for your French infantry. This is 20 mil right here, but obviously you can use the same techniques whether you're doing 15, 20, or 28. So here's your French infantry right here. It gives you 12 steps going all the way through basing. And then right here you got your Brits as well, and that shows you how to do 20 mil. But like I said, the techniques still are going to roll over for any scale that you're doing. And then they also have it for painting Matildas and Panzer 38Ts. That's one thing that's kind of cool too. I like that they do in these books is they show you how to paint a lot of the more common things that you're going to end up putting on the table, and it takes you step by step. So for some of you that might want to do things maybe either like historically to a T, or you want your stuff to look really well, but maybe you're not as confident with your painting skills. These step-by-steps that they have in the book, they're really good. They did a really good job of putting those together. So, it kind of takes a little bit of the pressure off on the hobby side as far as some of us go when it comes to maybe the intimidation of picking up the paintbrush and wanting your stuff to really look up to a quality standard when you put it on the table. The paint guides in here are really good for that. So this is the fall of France, jumping in around page 60. Right off the bat, so Case Yellow, invasion of France. So you have the whole history of that, the attack into the Low Countries. You're looking at like Holland and Belgian and all of that is going to fall under here and be covered in a bunch of the battles that they have going through the Ardennes. So, they do a really good job as far as painting the picture of how these operations worked, as well as, it's cool to kind of go through there. Yeah, you get the custom scenarios and stuff that they build and put in the book for you, but like I said, you just read through some of these and it's not that hard to kind of pull the facts and the ideas out of the blocks of text, then you can kind of develop and build your own little scenarios or do a little more research and put something together yourself on the tabletop within the parameters of the game rules. I mean, it's really easy to do, and they give you a lot of great reference material as far as photos go for setting up your table. Like right here, like this would be something you set up just visually right off that village. If you have enough pieces or even something close, you can kind of build that on the table, and then you can kind of read about what the battle was and kind of put together a scenario out there. They do a really good job of giving you the tools to kind of paint that picture for you. So here's some more cool reference photos down here. What else they got in here? Yeah, just tons and tons of reference material. Like they got the Dunkirk thing covered up this page. I think it's back here. Was it Back to the Sea? So yeah, I think that's up here. So you have a whole bunch of stuff in here as far as reference goes for the French stuff. So the French army starts on page 69. For any of you guys that are interested in playing early war French in the on the Western Front, this is the best bang for your buck in this book. I think they have 3 lists, and they all have a very distinct feel to them, and just tons of stuff for you French players out there. So, like I said, it goes over the all the equipment that you got in there, like they do for every army that goes through. You know, you got your Charbis, your D1s and D2s. You got your Pinards, your Renaults. I mean, like they got everything in here. You know, you got your Lorraines in here. All your field guns, you know, aircraft, soft skin vehicles. They got, like I said, they cover it all in here to a very deep degree as far as what each one brought to the table, brought to the battlefield, and what you can do to bring that to the tabletop. So first up is a French Light Mechanized Division battle group. So this is the one this is the list I think where you don't have Charbis. So if you're looking in here for the French ones, they get command chaos if you're in attack. So from a Soviet perspective, I know what that rule's like, and for you French players who maybe haven't played with it before, it's definitely, it could be a make or break depending on how you build out your lists. So if you're attacking with the French, you'll get to experience that, but if you're defending, you don't have to really worry about it. They have communication breakdown, they have the air superiority, and then they have rounds on the way. For those that haven't played a rounds on the way before, that's one where I think you can't call off your spotter round. I've done that with my British paratroopers. Super fun rule because, you know, it makes your risks that you take with some of your mortars and artillery, once they're incoming, they just land where they land, and there's nothing you can do about it. So like the rules that come with the French list, all of them seem like they're a lot of fun, even when they're not going to go your way. So I said, here's the Light Mechanized Division battle group. You're going into right here. You got your Dragoon Porties right here. You got your infantry unit for that. You got your motorized infantry platoon here. The French seem like they're a little bit more reeled in as far as body counts go. So for some of these, you know, we're talking about the Polish and the Germans earlier in the book. When you get to the French, it's a little more reasonable as far as what you're looking at for painting. I think you're looking at roughly under 40 guys for the core of the infantry platoon here when you're building up your forces. If you're going to do this one, if you're going to do the motorized infantry, it's kind of around the same number right there. So you're looking for like roughly 40 or less for some of these platoons that you're putting together. That's not factoring in your support if you're going to be bringing that onto the tabletop. And I just like to put that out there and just let people know, because, you know, when you're putting together some of these platoons and you're thinking, well, how much am I going to have to put together, do 1 or 2 platoons or anything like that, it's just good to have like a idea of what you're going to be painting and putting together to put that force on the table. Because I know for some people, you know, the bigger numbers is a turn off. For me, because I'm kind of sadistic and like to punish myself when it comes to the hobby side of things, I like the look of like large squads and blobs of infantry on the table. So when I could see like the Poles throwing like 19-man, you know, rifle and support sections out there, like I'm like, oh yeah, got to do that. Like that's going to look epic. I know for some people it's the direct opposite, and they want to kind of keep the numbers down a little bit. So it looks like the French list and the French invasion is going to probably be more of your alley if you're looking for something a little bit more moderate and easy to handle on the hobby side. So here you have your French cav as well. This one's the same numbers roughly as you're looking at your infantry. You're just going to be painting horses as well for that. A bunch of cool options in here. But it seems like their support comes more in trucks and cars than it does getting towed by horses and things like that. So you're going to be looking at that as well. For their tanks, you're gonna be looking at, like I said, you got R35s, you got R40s, H39s, you got Renault D1s and D2s. That's mostly gonna be looking at here. You got the FT17s. Is it Samua or the S35? I don't know if I'm pronouncing that wrong. Probably not. But so you have an option for those as well. But like I said, it's mostly some of the smaller tanks, not the big stuff. So yeah, so your artillery. You got your time barrage, your standard time barrage, your forward observer. You don't have as many options here for your towed artillery guns or off-table mortars. It's a little more limited for this section in the French list, but that does get expanded on, I believe, as you go into the other 2 lists that we're going to be covering in a second. For defenses, anytime you do a motorized list or a tank list, obviously your defenses aren't going to be as robust as some of the other ones. That we'll be covering in a little bit, especially when you're doing infantry. You usually have a much bigger page, but for defenses, when you're doing the tanks, you don't have as much to play with there. Recce over here, you got motorcycles, you got snipers, You got some guys for recce patrols and trucks. You got some armored cars here as well. Motorcycle machine gun teams, even a light tank that you can use down here, an AMR 35 that you can take, or light car, it's listed as light tank. Your logistics over here, it's standard that you get with pretty much everything else. You got your supply and you got your medics and things like that. For engineer support, you get a repair vehicle. I haven't used the repair vehicle yet. I do want to get one. I don't know if it's worth it on the tabletop for platoon level stuff, especially if you only have like, maybe under 5 tanks. But I don't know if some of you guys have used it and had some success with it, or feel like it's worth it for the smaller games. Let me know, because that might sway me to actually pick up one of these for my Soviets and my Germans. For platoon size games. So yeah, just let me know about that. But they got repair vehicles here. You got light bridging units, so you can build bridges across rivers if you guys want to do that. They also have engineering sections with demo charges and minesweepers. No flamethrowers though that I notice in this list right now. They got some towed AT. They got some anti-tank guns, as well as tank hunting vehicles as well for specialists. Your additional fire support over here. You got some options for your off-table artillery support requests, and then your fire missions down here. For the planes, not a very robust list, but that's kind of just how it goes at this stage in the war. But you do have some decent stuff as far as timed barrages and airstrikes. So you have some additional fire support that's pretty decent. That's not super overpriced as well. So if you need that additional fire support to kind of supplement some of the lack of artillery that you're looking at for this list earlier in the book, you do have some options in here that you can pull from. Next up is French Armored Division Battlegroup. It's going to be on page 84 right here. This is the one where you're most likely going to find the tanks that you're going to want to play as a French player. Not for the most part. You might want to play the light one, but most of the people talk about is the Charbis and things like that. So a lot of the same special rules here. You got the same standard stuff that you're going to find in your forward HQ, forward signals, wire teams, motorcycle dispatch riders, forward HQ, kind of the standard that you're going to see for every army pretty much going through the book. Right into the infantry. So you get another one of those porty platoons, pretty much the same loadout as the other ones. You do get the VB launchers in here, and I didn't read up exactly how the special rule works, but it seems like you can take all the VB launchers from a platoon and lump them into a single squad and use them as like another team that kind of floats around the table. It just fires off VB launchers everywhere. It almost feels like it's like a 1980s like action movie. You want to have like Stallone in there with a horrible French accent, like leading the way. But yeah, it seems like you can just run around with some VB launchers and cause some havoc with that. So that seems like it could be a pretty cool thing to put together. Standard build up for your support that you get over here, as far as machine guns. You got your mortars, your medics, and your anti-tank gun that you can take over here. I don't see an option in this one for anti-tank rifles, so I'm not even sure if the French have anti-tank rifles in abundance for their squads. I don't know. I'm not big on this front. Back over here with the tanks. So this is what you're looking at right here. Like I said, you got one choice for your infantry when you look at the armored division. Can you bring them in trucks? Yeah, you can take them in Lorraine carriers. So you do have an option to get them mobilized. The backbone of the list, obviously, though, for this is going to be the tank units. You're going to be looking at your Charbis, you got your H-39s. So you got those tanks. You're going to be sitting here as the backbone of this list. For your artillery, same kind of limited artillery that you're looking at as the last list as well. Defenses mirror the same thing. Your recce, it looks like it's kind of the same, but this one you have motorcycles, you got Fusilier motorcycles, medium machine guns. You got some armored car options as well as recce, porty. So a lot of the same stuff here. You also got for your logistics, you got your supply column that you can take down here. You get the ammo carrier if you want to do that, as well as your medics and forward aid posts. Engineering is the same as the last list, where you're looking at repair vehicles, bridging units, etc. Special support stuff, it looks like it's exactly the same as well. You got your tank hunter in there, your AT gun, and then you got your towed anti-aircraft. For your fire support over here, it pretty much looks the same. I feel like no, it is the same, yeah. So yeah, the support that you get from here is pretty much the same. So what you're looking at between the first list and the second list is the first one seems like it has a little bit more options as far as cav and infantry and the lighter tanks, and then this list right here that we just looked at seems like it's more focused around the Charbis and some of the bigger medium tanks. So the French infantry division, this is going to be the last list in here. This is going to be for you guys that like the boots on the ground. opposed to you tread heads. So this is the French Infantry Division Battle Group. You're gonna have, I hate pronouncing the French stuff because I know I'm gonna butcher it. The Voltigeur platoon. I know I didn't get it right. You guys can let me hear about it. So yeah, same this one. You're looking at roughly 40 guys in your platoon. You're gonna have your rifle fire elements as well as your shock elements. You're gonna get your VB launcher, and then you're gonna get an LMG. So 2 separate rifle units are gonna have one of those in each one. And they do have the bomb group rule. And then there are runners here. I haven't used runners yet, so I don't want to misinterpret what the rule is, but I think it's something that gives you the ability to reroll. And I don't know, it's a reroll or something like that for orders or something along those lines. But they do have a special rule for runners in here. So you have that platoon, and then they have a reserve one as well. I don't know exactly. They're auxiliary. So it looks like what's the difference is this one's like your standard troops, this one's auxiliary. So that's what you're looking at here between these two. But it looks like the makeup is relatively close to the same as far as what you get. This one looks like you can make them regulars. You can get 1 unit of that, and you can put them in trucks. This one looks like you do not have the option to make them regulars, and you cannot put them in trucks. So this is what you're looking at as far as the difference between the two. The points, it's a 12-point difference, but the battle rating is the same. But this one has the options to do a little bit more as far as upgrades go. And they're not auxiliary. Going into the tanks for this one, you got a pretty good mix of some of the smaller tanks right here. You can get some Renaults in there and some FT-17s. So you do get a little bit of armored support in this one. Artillery, like I said, this one's even more limited, it looks like, for your artillery units. You're only going to have access to the 75 millimeter and then 1 battery of the 81 millimeter mortars. So a little limited for the artillery here. Logistics, you do get supply trucks and the things that we talked about earlier as far as medics go. You do get a pretty healthy selection here for defenses, though. I mean, pretty much anything you think of, from AT gun dugouts, AT bunkers. I mean, you can build like the Maginot Line like out of this list that you got sitting right here. I mean, there's just tons of stuff that you can put together. Abandoned refugee column. So you could do like civilian vehicles that you just lay out there. They got the tank traps. That's cool. I haven't even seen this one before. I just looked at this right now, the refugee column. So what is it? So refugee vehicles have to run out of fuel and been left blocking the road. Place D6 civilian vehicles, cars, trucks, or wagons on a single road, nose to tail, anywhere on the table but not within 10 inches of the enemy table edge. Each vehicle counts as an obstacle. So that's pretty cool. So yeah, you can build like this giant roadblock of just a bunch of vehicles laying around on the table, and make that either part of your defense line or make it as kind of like an obstacle, block up a road or something like that, and make the enemy's tanks have to kind of go through the fields and open ground and keep their speed to a minimum. That's pretty cool. It's only 15 points for that as well. So like I said, there's a whole bunch of stuff in here that you can put together and build a really solid, like, you know, Maginot style defense line if you're going to rebuild that, or just kind of build it ad hoc, like I said, like the abandoned refugee column over here and some things like that. So that's pretty cool. For Recce, a lot of the same things that we've seen in the other ones as far as the armored cars, the motorcycles, you know, it kind of rolls over here. Engineer support, same thing. Like I said before, you got your repair vehicles, bridging, engineer section. Specialists, you get a little more variety when you get into the specialist here. So you can do the forward signals unit out of this. You can get the Char 2Cs. They're restricted, so if you're playing a platoon size game, you can only get like, no, they're unique, yeah, so you can only take one of them, so you only get one of those. We got tank hunter here down, so you get like 2 options for tank hunters. Was it the Lafley trucks? AT guns, you got options for. So the special support units in here, there's a couple more options that you wouldn't normally get in the other list to kind of flesh things out a little bit, so that's kind of nice. And then your fire support off of here, it seems like you get a little bit more for this one as well. You get your 2 barrages, your airstrike, you get some off-table artillery fire as well that falls under this one. And then the air support and French fire missions seem like they're pretty standard as far as comparing them to the other lists. So those are the 3 French lists. That takes you roughly to a page 98 to kind of wrap those up. So yeah, you get 3 pretty good variety. You get 3 different French lists that are pretty similar as far as their support choices go. But the core of each list gives a nice little bit of variance to what you can throw on the tabletop for you early war French players. So this takes us over to the Belgian army in 1940. Let me just get a drink of water here. I'm starting to get cotton mouth talking so much. All right, excuse me. So we're here in the Belgian army. This is going over the tanks, armored cars, and other armored vehicles. Like I said, it's covered pretty much on one page. There's not a ton of this kind of stuff in the Belgian list, but you know, it's still there, and they still go over it and kind of let you know what each unit's about and you know how many there were. So Belgian infantry division, you got communication breakdown with these guys, Luftwaffe, air superiority. So like I said, you pull those aircraft jets, you need a 6+ to get the plane, and they also have rounds on the way. So for this one, man, they get 27 points for their forward HQ, 3 guys. They got artillery spotter. They come with a transport. So yeah, you can do some stuff here. So they're 27 points, which is a little more expensive than some of the other stuff that I've seen in the book right now. You get your wire team, all the standard stuff that you'd find in a lot of these lists for early war, forward HQ. For their infantry units, you got your standard infantry platoon here from the Belgians. It looks like, yeah, you got 3-man platoon command, and then, yeah, you're looking at, was it 4 grenadier teams and 4 squads right there, so 12. So you're looking at a little over 50 guys for these. Actually, it might have been 50 guys for the other ones too, now looking back at the book, but you know, it's neither here nor there. It's only a 10-man difference. But yeah, so yeah, you're looking at about 50 guys for the infantry platoon here. You got options to bring in some mortars, anti-tank guns. You got your medics, machine guns. They also let you bring in some tank hunters right here, which are pretty cool, and then a light mortar squad as well. So a lot of variety that that you can put together in the Belgian lists, as well as, oh man, I gotta pronounce another one of these. The Chasseurs Ardennes platoon. If I get any of these right, please let me know, because it'll make me feel a little bit better about myself, because I know I'm just butchering this right now. So for these, you got 1 platoon command, you got 2 rifle teams, 2 support, and 1 DBT. So this is a little bit, seems like it's a little bit smaller as far as what you get, but the 2 rifle teams are 8 men each, the 2 support teams are 7 men each. And then you got your 6-man platoon squad, and then your DBT is a 10-man. So it's pretty hefty as far as what you get out of this one. And they're all on bicycles. So you get like a full platoon of bicycle troops right here. You can take the bicycles out and give them trucks for free, or you take your bicycles and give them motorcycles with sidecars, and then they get all the special rules with that, and that's an extra 22 points. So that's pretty cool. So you get a mobile infantry platoon here if you want to go with that. You get your typical medics, machine guns, mortar teams, anti-tank guns, as well as the tank hunter. I think, are those tankettes? I'm not sure if they are or not. And then you get your infantry gun with them as well. And they can all come with tows. So like I said, this whole platoon right here, the chasseurs, they can be completely mobile. And you know, it's 125 points, and they're regulars as well. So that's kind of cool, but they are a restricted unit. And then over here you got your Belgian cav that you can take out and run around with. And this is all motorcycles. This isn't, I don't think this is horse, right? Yeah, they don't have horse options. So this is all, their cav is all motorcycles. So you get machine gun teams, and then you get VB launchers mixed in on motorcycles with these guys. And then they got like anti-tank gun in tow, and then you get your machine gun teams, and your combat medic and all that kind of stuff can get pretty mobile as well. So you can put that on there. For their tanks, you have very limited. You got a Vickers light tank, and then you got a Renault ACG-1. I don't know anything about the Belgian tanks as far as how effective they were or what they're about on the table, but looking at the Vickers, it looks like it's just a machine gun tank. I could be wrong on that, but I think it's a machine gun tank. It's a light tank. And then you got the Renault. So defenses, pretty big list here. This is, like I said, it's mostly infantry, so you got a pretty good infantry list here as far as what you can set up. Let's see if anything is kind of unique on here that maybe we don't usually see. What else they got? Fortified gun turret. So hard and cover for a 75mm gun with 3 crew and a loader team and a 360-degree arc of fire. So that's pretty cool. If you want to get a gun turret kind of anchor down one of your flanks in the middle of the table, you can get a fortified gun turret with a 3-man crew with 360-degree arc of fire. That's pretty cool right there, and pretty unique. And then you can get a tank turret as well. It has all around and armor on it. Got 10 shots with it. It's a 47mm gun, and it has a coax machine gun on it. So that's kind of cool too. So you can get a tank turret emplacement with that. So that's 2 things that you can get with the Belgian list down here that seem like they're unique to some of the other stuff that we looked at. For artillery, you get your time barrage, you get your off-table mortar fire, and then you have 2 options for some different guns here as far as being towed artillery. For on-table, you can get a 75mm or a 105. It's gonna, you pay extra for the if you're gonna do a horse and limber tow, or if you're gonna do a tractor tow, the options are on there for both, and you have to pay a little extra for that. But you do have two different options for your artillery depending on what size gun and when you go with. The reconnaissance, you got sniper, you got a carabiner bicycle patrol that you can throw out there. You got another cav patrol. Like I said, the Belgian cav is on motorcycle. Armored car patrol, and then you got your recce command that can, do your spotting and things like that. But they're unique. You only get one of those, and they come in an armored Marmon Harrington. So that's what you're looking at for your recce. So a nice variety here as far as different stuff you can put on the table. You got your standard sniper, but you also do bicycle, motorcycles, armored car. So you get some mobile recce forces on the table, and each of them have a very distinct flavor to it. For logistics, the table, same thing you normally see. Supply column, you can bring transport. So if you want to get some extra trucks on the table to kind of tow around some guns, or maybe use to just carry your troops around the table, you have the option to bring that in there, as well as all your medical things from stretchers to forward aid posts. Engineers, you're looking at your recovery vehicle, engineers, and bridging unit. For specialists, you got a tank hunter, a T-13B3. You got mobile AA. So their AA is going to be machine gun AA. You're not going to get like 20 mils or anything like that. And then you got your towed anti-air, and that one's going to give you your Bofors, and you got your Vickers AA gun. Your 94 millimeter L50. So you got two of those. That's a unique one though. So you have some options there for some AA stuff, as well as some anti-tank. And then going in your fire support over here, you got, your air support obviously isn't going to be too hot over there. No bombing runs or anything like that. It seems like it's mostly going to be a machine gun, unless you get some decent dice. You might be able to get 2 small bombs out of it. You're going to get some decent guns, looks like, for your artillery fire requests. Then you get your 2-time barrages, and you got some off-table arty fire that you can drop on the table as well. So that's your one list that you're going to get for the Belgians. There isn't a Netherlands list in here. I don't know which one you would use if you wanted to do, any fighting in Holland or anything like that. If you guys do know what might fall under what list to pull out of here, leave that in the comments section too. I know some people will probably be curious as far as what they can use to kind of recreate the fighting in Holland if they wanted to do some kind of like Netherlands force or anything like that. Like, what would be the best route to go for that? So for the BEF, here we go. Starting on page 109. This is the Brits going into here. Gives you a little bit history on that as well as then we get into the equipment. You got all your A9, A10s, you got your Vickers, you got your Matildas, you got your Daimler Dingos and your Morris CS9s. You got your Guy Lizard command cars, your Bren carriers, you got all your guns in here that you would have, soft-skin vehicles, you got your aircraft, the full rundown that they give you for everything as far as equipment goes. So here's your BEF battle group. They got a rule in here for them bleeding trucks. You got communication breakdown, you got the air superiority, and you got rounds on the way. So those are the special rules that are going to fall under the BEF stuff. So you got your forward HQ, you got your motorcycle dispatch, forward signals, wire team, and then you got back to the sea. This is the BEF retreating rapidly, running out of places to fall back to. Your battle group must fight hard to buy time to organize a solid defense and then evacuate by sea. So add a D6 battle rating to your battle group's total at the start of the game. So obviously, if you're setting up that defensive line, trying to get out of Dunkirk or some kind of setup like that, as far as a scenario goes, back to the sea would be a way for you to get extra battle rating, and it only costs you 15 points. So over here, you got your infantry. You're looking at 1 platoon is going to be 3 rifle sections, a light mortar team, and 4 options. So you got 5-man command, and then you got 8 men with the Bren, and then you got a 2-inch mortar. So pretty standard. So you can get this going pretty small as far as platoon size goes for your BEF. You got your boys AT rifle, you got your heavy machine gun here, so you got your Vickers, you got your 2-pounder, you got your mortars, you got your combat medic. So that's what you're looking at right here as far as making up your standard infantry platoon for the BEF. You can also do your motor platoon over here. So this gives you the option to load everybody up in the medium trucks. And you can also give the rifle sections, each rifle section looks like they can take one of the anti-tank rifles inside the rifle section as far as the motor platoon goes. On this one, you get the AT gun, heavy machine gun, and mortars, the 3-inch mortars, as part of the motor platoon over here. And then what do you get? It's 3 sections. So yeah, you're looking at roughly 21 guys, and then your command. So you're looking at about 30 guys as well for the motor platoon, except they're going to be in trucks. For your tanks, for this one, you have options to either take infantry tanks or cruiser tanks. You can't take a mix of them. So for your infantry tank platoon, it's going to be like your Matildas and things like that. If you're going to go with the cruiser tanks, you're going to be looking at your A13s your A10s and your A9s. So you can only do one or the other. You can't bring a mix of Matildas and like A9s or anything like that. It has to be one or the other. So you take platoons of that. You can also take a light tank platoon, which is a Vickers. I don't think the Vickers makes an option. I think you can take the Vickers with any of those. I don't think you have to, based on what I'm reading right here in the rules, you can take the Vickers with the cruisers or with the infantry tank platoon for the Matildas. They don't have to be their own thing on their own. For additional tanks, like I said, you can just take one if you wanted to do that, and then you have, you know, you take anything from the list over here as far as Vickers, Matildas, all that kind of stuff, but you only get to take one of them, and you lose. Do they have the officer special rule with this? Yeah, so you lose the officer rule. You just get the one tank on their own. So that's the list. You got a pretty decent tank selection there as far as the Brits go. For your arty, you get a really good amount of arty that you can kind of just take right out of the box without going into arty fire support. So you're going to get your 18-pound barrage, 25-pounder barrage, 6-inch howitzer barrage is all coming out of the arty section. You get your towed arty, so you can take the 18-pounders or 25-pounders. You can get your 2 3-inch mortars. You can also get a timed 8-inch howitzer barrage. So you get a lot of stuff just out of the regular artillery unit section without having to pull it from the additional fire support. Defenses, you get a pretty good list here as well. You know, you're mostly on the defensive here. So you do get the abandoned refugee column that we talked about earlier. A lot of the standard stuff that you're looking here as far as foxholes, trenches, you got your booby trap buildings, you got your arty observer post, command bunkers, all the things that you'd see. They also have desperate defense down here, so you can spend another 15 points and you can get another D6. Is that the same as the front one too? Sorry, that's backs to the sea, desperate defense. So for 30 points, you can get a 2d6 added on to your battle rating if that's the route you want to go, which might not be a bad idea if you're maybe playing a game where, you know, your opponent has like, you know, we'll say 25% more points on the table attacking you. That might be a nice way to drop 30 points and kind of beef up your battle rating a little bit and give your guys a little bit more of a fighting chance as they dig in and try to make a defense. Something worth thinking about. You know, I haven't played it, so it's just kind of me talking off the top of my head, reading through, but that's kind of one thing I noticed. For your recce options over here, you got options for light tanks, armored cars, snipers. You do have infantry foot patrols that you can throw in trucks. So like I say, you can do a mobile infantry squad kind of rolling around the table right there. You know, move them up, get a good foothold on a building, and kind of just stick them in there for hard cover. So you have the option to get that done. Some things that you can't do with armored cars and tanks, obviously. You can also get a motorcycle patrol, but it's only a 3-man team. It's not like a full squad. Down here, you got engineering support, so you got the repair truck that you can throw together. You also have an engineer section, so you got minesweepers and some demo charges as well. So if you want to blow some stuff up or clear some minefields, these are the guys to do it. No flamethrowers, though. Over here for logistic support units, there's a supply column. You know, it's pretty. I always think the supply truck, I like to take it if you're running with a lot of tanks, or if not a lot of tanks. If you're running a tank list, supply truck, I think is for 8 points, is totally worth taking, at least one of them. Or if you have, you know, one of those big tanks that might only have, you know, 2 or 3 shots in it, supply truck, it's just something that you should take and kind of get your points worth out of some of that armor that you're putting on the table. So it's something worth looking at. So they have that for your logistics, and then you got your, you know, your medical stuff as far as stretchers, ambulance, and forward aid post. For specialist stuff here, for the BEF, you got a carrier section, so you get a carrier rifle team. So you get 3 guys with a Bren gun and a Bren carrier. You get the mortar in the Bren carrier, and you get the command team, which is awesome because you get an extra officer as well as a mortar spotter, and that's 60 points. Coming out of here, so that's kind of cool being able to get that. For, you know, it is expensive at 60 points, but you get a lot of flexibility in what you get as far as the different things that they can do as far as spot for mortars, fire mortars, and then a rifle team as well to help support that mortar. And it's a 6 battle rating in their regulars, so it's pretty cool carrier section. A nice piece to kind of add to your list. You got your Bofors, your 40 mil, as well as the Bren team for your AA guns. And then you got a heavy AA gun that you can take as well as a 3.7 AA with 4 crew. And you can give it a Matador tow for that if you want to be a little more mobile and move it around the table and readjust. So that's your specialist stuff that you're looking at right there. For additional fire support, you got a lot of stuff in here, and a lot of it's pretty reasonably priced as far as if you need to pack a couple extra points into your list and maybe you have like 5 or 10 points kind of laying around. A lot of good options in here for that. So yeah, you got down here You got the ferry battle average has 5 points for, was it 4 small bombs? So that's pretty good. You got another airstrike for 10 points. Up here at 20 point, you got a 9.2 barrage. So there's enough stuff in here ranging from expensive to not expensive to where you can kind of plug this into the back of your list if you have some points laying around and kind of get a little extra bang for your buck. They also have the off-table heavy arty fire. So for 2 6-inch guns, it's 140 points. So if you're really looking to add some bang to your buck, bang for your buck, man, that off-table heavy arty, you're going to pay out the nose for it. You don't get any battle rating for it, but you're going to ruin somebody's day if those start going in. If you put that together with a pre-registered target and you pick the right spot on the table, you can make a pretty good mess of the Germans. So pretty good options here for additional fire support for the Tommies. And that takes us over to the Germans. So we're on page 124 right here. You're starting off with the Panzer Division battle group. So you're going to be looking at a lot of your chutes and platoons and your tanks and things like that. So forward HQ. Your base is going to be 24 points. It's going to throw you in a half track, but you have the options to upgrade that and put them in just a boatload of tanks ranging from Panzer II all the way up to Panzer IV-D, and then you got your 38Ts as well. So good variety here for your armored command if you're going to put that together. You also have the option for forward signals. You can put those guys in the 263, 223. You can do things with that as well. You get your Luftwaffe air liaison. Dispatch rider, wire team, comms relay. So the German forward HQ, they're fleshed out a little bit more as far as options go and directions that you can kind of take it with this list compared to some of the other one. For the chutes and platoon, this is kind of your typical build of what you expect to see from the Germans from, I guess, this point of the war going forward. Usually you got your 3 6-man rifle teams, and then you got your 3-man MG teams in support. For the chutes and platoons, you can put them all in trucks with the ability afterwards to then upgrade them into half tracks. Each of those squads are also able to take anti-tank grenades that are in here for the rifle teams. So yeah, you can get your anti-tank in here, you can get your mobility with your half tracks, and you get your machine gun fire. You can also make the guys mortar spotters for your platoon command. So you know this can be just your standard rifle squad without throwing the supports in there. You can get a lot of versatility out of that, starting with this list right here. As far as what you want to take up for your support stuff, you know, you have your MG34s on tripods, you got your 50mm mortars, AT rifles, medium mortars, you got your AT gun, you got your infantry gun. So there's a lot of flexibility as far as what you can put together with these infantry squads as well. Going over here, you also got your crad shoots, and so you got your motorcycles that you can put together too. This is one of the things I gotta buy, man. I'm dying to put a crad shoots and platoon on the table. This is my next German project that I'm gonna put together. Is probably gonna be crad shoots, and as far as bigger German projects for my early war stuff, so you get your crad shoots on here. Same kind of setup, except you got a 3-man light mortar team that comes standard with the platoon command over here, but same options as everything else. You get the anti-tank grenades in there if you want to take them. You can also do the upgrade for the mortar spotter. And then all your support stuff. It's a little more expensive. That's because everything comes with motorcycles already attached to the actual entry inside the list. So the thing might be a couple more points more, but that's because you get a motorcycle built into the points value. And then the infantry guns and the AT guns and some of that stuff, they have the option for you to buy the tow. So like I said, you can keep the mobility of the crad shoots and platoon all together throughout because everything has an option for tows. So over here for the tank units, you still have options for Panzer 1s. You know, Panzer 2s are still in there as well, but you also have Panzer 3s, Panzer 4s, you got the 35Ts, 38Ts. Same rule applies where if you take the Panzers, you can't take the 38Ts or 35Ts. Has to be kind of one or the other. So you have that rule still sitting in here too, but the Panzer 3s and Panzer 4s, they're not restricted for this list because it's 1940. They're a lot more common at this point. Where you'll probably see the Panzer 1s kind of phased out for the most part and won't be as prevalent on the battlefield or as effective, I guess, at this point either. So yeah, you're gonna have your Panzer 2s, 3s, and 4s is kind of holding it down. Or if you do the 38, 35Ts, that route as well. So if you're artillery, you got a pretty good amount of stuff over here. So you got your, you know, air forward observer, your regular forward observer, so you got your artillery spotter, and then you got your option to take the Stork as well, which is like 71 points. It's super expensive. But like I said, if nobody's got an AA gun and you're just kind of flying around over here, that's a pretty cool piece to have on the table. You can take Your off-table mortar fire, you can get 3 80mm mortars over here. You can take an armored forward observer if you want to throw them in the SDK F265. You can do that. So you get some self-propelled arty that you can bring in here. You got towed for your 105 and 150s. You can get your off-table arty, which ranges from a 75mm gun all the way up to a 170mm gun. It kind of just depends on how many points you want to spend on it. It ranges from 48 points for 2 guns for the 75s up to 198 points for 2 of the 170mm off-table. And remember, off-table, you get no battle rating for it. So, you just have these guys off-table at no risk of getting blown up, but they're really not adding anything as far as battle rating and morale go to your forces. You're just kind of dumping 200 points on the high end into a gun. You also have the timed 87, the Ju-87 airstrike over here for 15 points, but you have to have a Luftwaffe air liaison officer to take this option. So you have to bring the air liaison officer from the forward HQ to be able to take the timed Ju-87 airstrike, or you just wait for the chit to fall out of the bag when you pull them. So for defenses, obviously tank list a little bit smaller here. You don't really have a lot of options as far as that goes. For your recce, the German recce, you got tons of stuff. You got crad shoots and platoons that you can take. Something as simple as the simple MG, just 3 guys with a tripod and a motorcycle just going around. You can get a full recce platoon for crowd shoots, and you can get a regular shoots and foot patrol that you can throw in trucks if you want to do that. So you have the option to do motorcycle troops, or you can do truck loaded troops for your recce. Recce command team, so you get all your armored car options. You can get a motorized Panzer Jaeger, so you get SDK F7 10-tow, taking a Pack 36 out of the recce section, which is kind of cool. And then you get your sniper, so you get a lot of options here. For your engineer support, you can take a full assault pioneer platoon, which is awesome. It's 214 points, but they're vets. They're 16 battle ratings, so you're getting a lot of bang for your buck as far as staying power with these guys. And you get a lot of awesome stuff in here. I mean, you get assault troops, you get engineers built into it. What do they come with? You get 7 guys. Each of the 3 pioneer squads are going to come with anti-tank grenades and 2 demolition charges. They're assault troops. You can give them a minesweeper if you want. You get the MG teams, and they come standard with a 2-man flamethrower team, and they just come transported in everybody else's vehicles. So you just throw them in trucks if you want to do that, and you can load them in half track. So if you loaded these guys out, you can easily hit 250 points for one of the assault pioneer platoons. Like I said, you get some solid vet troops with just tons of flexibility in what you can do. And for their support, you get all the standard stuff as far as your mortars, machine guns, anti-tank rifles, and you also have the option to add an additional flamethrower team down here. So yeah, if you have somebody with the defense line set up and look like they're gonna be a tough nut to crack, you got some flamethrower teams, some demo charges, anti-tank grenades. Like these are the guys that you want to assault those fortified positions with if you want to break through and do some damage. These guys are the jack of all trades for that kind of stuff, but you are going to pay for it. For your engineer support, you got your light bridging, you got heavy bridging, you got a bridging tank that you can bring. Was it the Brückenleger? So you can take that. It's unique. It's a bridging tank. That's kind of cool. You also have your FAMO for your recovery vehicle. So a lot of cool stuff in the engineer support here. For specialists, there we go. At the top of the page over there, you got the old bunker flak. So you can take your AA gun, your 88 Panzer Jaeger battery. You can take 2 of those 37 Pack 36 guns. You also get, like I said, the bunker flak. AA vehicle, so you get your 20mm, 37mm AA on back of a half track. You can take those. You also get the towed versions if you just want to kind of park them and throw them somewhere. And you get the Panzer Jaeger, the one right here too for your anti-tank gun. Logistics, same stuff that you'd always see. Med as well as supply columns. You can also upgrade to the munitions schlepper, the Panzer one. So you can get an armored resupply option as an upgrade out of that. Fire support, yeah, I mean, you got tons of stuff in here that actually has some value to it. So you got a lot of options coming out of your fire mission requests. Your time barrages, you got mortars, you got artillery, you also got the big guns that you can take here for 40 points, and that can be pretty devastating. And you can also take the Ju-87 out of there. And for 15 points, you're dropping 1 large bomb and 4 small bombs for 15 points. Those things can be absolutely devastating if you end up hitting a tank, especially early war. I mean, you're just going to shred whatever you end up dropping it on. And the close air support tables are pretty good too, because even the machine gun strafes and stuff like that are pretty decent. But if you get the that Ju-87, that's scary, man. I've had it. The last battle report that I played against Vin, that Ju-87 airstrike for 15 points, man. If that thing lands, any of those bombs are going to do severe damage, especially on like, early war tanks. Like I had T-26s on the table and I was getting stuff. They were just pinning me left and right. I was lucky I got away that easy as far as that thing goes. So yeah, Ju-87 15 points is really good. So we're taking us over to page 135. That gets us to the German Infantry Division battle group. So this is going to be your foot troops here. Like I said, pretty good amount of stuff here. You also have 15 points. You can get a special rule for infiltration. So German units have been infiltrating the enemy lines. So I'll just get to the meat and potatoes here. At the start of the game, the opposition side must take a battle rating counter because his men are now windy. Also, a single reconnaissance support foot patrol may start the game with the behind enemy lines special rule. So that's kind of cool that you can end up doing that and get some guys into your opponent's table and wreak a little havoc behind the enemy lines. So over here, you got your standard infantry platoon. You're going to be looking at 7-man squad and then 3 men with the MG teams. You can give anti-tank grenades. So I said this one's a little more reeled in compared to the Polish front as far as body count goes. So this one is kind of the same for those of you guys who played Barbarossa. For the infantry unit, it works out body-wise to roughly the same one. So if you have a very limited selection as far as what your infantry models are, from Barbarossa to France, as far as the infantry list goes, that they'll work fine without you having to do any extra work. For your support stuff, mortars, anti-tank rifles, and then field guns. The standard backbone you're going to get for these infantry platoons. Reserve infantry platoons that you're looking at over here are these guys. They're reserve. I assume what makes them worse. It looks like the body count is roughly the same. Yeah, I don't know. Are they auxiliary? Yeah, I can't tell right now. But they're a little bit worse off as far as points and battle rating goes, and they're inexperienced over here. But you do get the same kind of support options in the list. After that, for tank support, infantry list, you're going to have your Stugs in support. So you got your Stug 3s that you take. They're going to be the Stug A's. You can upgrade into mortar spotters. You can take additional ones as well. And then if you want to take individual tanks, so you're going to lose the officer rules as far as that goes. But you can take, your Panzers or your Panzer 35Ts. You kind of have the full selection as far as that goes. But they're just individual tanks. And you can only take one of those out of this list. That's what the little note down here says. For artillery, they're going to be getting with the infantry. Like I said, full list of off-table artillery, towed guns, 105 up to the 150. So you got 3 guns to choose from for your arty right here, as well as off-table mortar batteries. 81 points for 3 off-table mortars. That's pretty good bang for your buck. Throwing that many dice, things are going to go your way more often than not. It's not bad, but like I said, the 81-point investment for 0 battle rating. For platoon games, I've always found that off-table stuff for artillery, it's kind of tough to justify that many points going into your list and you not getting any battle rating out of it when you're such a low point scale. It's kind of tough to make up for that when you're only throwing like 400 or 500 points on the table. And then if you're playing a historical scenario, not that big of a deal. But if you're just doing like a pickup game with your buddy, you really got to weigh your options out and put some thought behind it, opposed to just getting something for 36 points and you get a field gun and you get a 2 battle rating with it. Something to think about, but that's more like tactics and list building than it is reviewing the book. So here you got your defenses, infantry list. Like I said, you got a whole ton of stuff on here. A lot of the standard stuff that you find in a lot of the other lists. One of the things in here that you do get is the off-table 88 shot. So you get 1 shot with an 88. You need a roll of a 6 to hit, and it has to be within 30 inches of your table edge. So if somebody starts creeping into your half of the table, 5 points. If you roll a 6, you hit them with a flak 88. So you pretty much erase anything that you hit at that point. I've taken it occasionally. I haven't had it hit yet, but the threat of an 88 shot sometimes might make somebody think twice about pushing too far into your table without being supported properly. So 5 points, not a bad investment out of the defensive section here for the Germans. For your recce, you got bicycle patrols. You got some cav on horses. You got your armored cars. You got your motorized Panzerjägers, motorized infantry guns. So you got your foot patrols here. So you got a nice little variety as far as fleshing out your recce here in this with a lot of options depending on which direction that you want to go. Bicycles, like I said, they got everything in here. Also another Assault Pioneer platoon coming out of the infantry section. This one's a little less expensive at the start. It's only $194 to start with this, but it seems like you have the basic core is the same layout here with options for flamethrowers and stuff like that, as well as taking anti-tank guns. So that's what you're looking at here. For your engineer support, bridging units, recovery vehicles, logistics, you're looking at support columns as well as transport columns and your forward aid stations. For specialists, you're just looking at flak 88s and your AAs options right here. And then going into your fire support, same stuff as before. It looks like it's pretty much the same thing going down the list. So this is your additional fire support. So that's all the lists in the book. Now this section kind of wraps up here with the battles in France. So you get a good selection here as well, ranging from platoon size engagements as well as some of the much higher point things here. So I think you have a couple that are going to range in these are like roughly the 20 to 30 point ranges here for these first two scenarios. So some smaller things here, as well as they got another one here that's going to fall into that same area. So you got 4 to start it off. Then you start getting into some of the bigger games. So the first 4 scenarios look like they're around platoon size. The next one might be like larger platoon, maybe small company engagement, but it looks like it might be larger platoon. And then the last one as well. So it looks like just mostly platoon engagements, some on the larger platoon side, but you get roughly 6 scenarios. Might have been 7, but 6 or 7 scenarios going through here with Germans fighting Brits, French, and a whole mix in between. So that's kind of the end of the French campaign there, which takes us to the back of the book. So you got your standard German equipment list in here, giving you the rundown of the vehicles, their armor, their guns. For those of you who don't know, like I said, you have everything in here, but it's broken down. One section's the vehicles, the armor, and what the vehicle can do, as well as it tells you the gun and the ammo, but they don't get the strength of the gun in the first section of the book. You get the strength of the gun when you get to the German gun section. So first side is about the vehicles. The second section is about the armaments that they have here. When I first got the rule set, you have to go through and do it. Picking up the cards is totally worth doing for those of you who maybe aren't familiar with Battlegroup. They have card sets that you can pick up for early war Germans, early war allies, all the way to the late war stuff. Highly suggest getting the cards because the cards have, you have your Panzer IV right here, and that Panzer IV entry on the card is going to give you all the vehicle stats as well as the gun stats that go under it, as well as any special rules that might go with the vehicle. They just come in handier and much quicker reference. You don't need them. It just makes your life a little bit easier. So here's just the German gun section, rolling through, get into the Polish equipment. So this is the Polish section. You got here's your French, all the stuff that you got for your French. Then you got your Belgians. Then you got your Brits. And then you got your guns, and then over here you got your rules reference sheet, and then you got your chit one. So this is your rules reference sheet, and here's your chit one that are in the book. Use these ones for photocopying, and then you got your rules reference sheet, and then you got your chit section here with the perforated edges down there, so you can tear them out, cut this one up, and use this one as kind of, either laminated or just something that you can kind of walk around with and not have attached to the book for your rules reference sheet, which comes in really handy. And that's everything for the book. So this is Battlegroup Blitzkrieg. Looking forward to doing this one. Like I said, we don't have anything set on the table for it just yet, but just so you guys know, Vin is building an early war French force. Hopefully we can get it painted up and running maybe by the end of the summer, early fall. Like I said, we're going to be doing a lot of Eastern Front stuff going ahead, but after that wraps up, we're really looking to get to Battlegroup early war on the Western Front. So French, Poles coming up the next couple months. But like I said, I know a lot of you guys wanted to see what this book was about, and some people were asking me about it, so I ended up picking it up with the intention of getting into it a little bit further in the future. So for those of you who weren't privy to what was in the book, I hope this kind of helps you guys out. Take a look at it. It is a good book as far as game value and game content. There's a lot of stuff in here as far as the Polish front, the French front, and then all the lists that go in between. So bang for your buck. This one's really good value. I got this here in the United States from NWS Online. They ship out of Florida. I think combined for the book and shipping was $40 here in the US. So it's a pretty good price. Kind of hard to find it for lower than that when you factor in both of those. So just passing that along to you guys. So thanks for watching. Like, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll catch you guys later.